I'm Cruz Devon, and welcome to This Gay Life. Today we're going to be talking about gay youth, and obviously since we have a limited studio space, we can't talk to all gay youth, but we do have an interesting young man with us. His name is Charles Bacot. And why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Well, my name is Charles Bacot, and my friends call me Chris, but I'm originally from Savannah, Georgia, and I just moved here. I was going to New York University, and I decided to come here and stay with my lover, who also lives here. And basically, I'm 19 years old, and I've been in the type of setting, other than New York, I've also been in a small town setting all my life. So, and I grew up in Savannah, Georgia, until I was 17 when I moved away. So,
when did you come out?
I came out when I was 16 years old, and I came out in high school to all my friends. As most people say, I came out with a bang. I came out, at 16, and I told my best friend, and the next day I was telling everybody. It just felt like a relief to finally just get it out and just, I don't know, direct my attention other than schoolwork, and I don't know, just I felt free and felt like a big, weight had been lifted off my shoulders. So.
Well, why? I mean, you say it was like a weight lifted off your shoulders, but what? I mean, it's just like all of a sudden you come on this idea. It's like, I know, I'll come out.
Well, I was working in retail, and I had a lot of friends that also worked in retail, and I'd worked in retail at 16, and I had some friends who worked at the store at the other mall, and they invited me out for pizza, and I didn't know that they were gay, but I didn't have too many friends in the mall, so I went out for pizza, and they let me know that they were gay, so I just felt like I had someone that I could talk to, because up until 16 I didn't know anyone who was gay. So and we just became friends, and I felt like there was someone that I could talk to, and I never really let them know I was gay until probably about a month or two later, when I really became good friends with them, because I was going over to their house and staying all the time, and I just felt real comfortable with them. So I came out to them first of all, and then I told my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So,
how'd your mom take it?
well, I called her I called her at work, and I guess it wasn't the best place to tell her, but I told her on the phone, and she was like, I'm coming home, don't go, you're not going to work, just stay there. And she's like, and I went to work anyway, and I came home, and she was sitting on the couch waiting for me. So I came in the house, and I sat down, and she's like, so what is going on? What is wrong with you? And I just told her, well, I'm gay. I don't know what to do about it. And she's like, you're not gay. You have girlfriends, and what about this person and this person you used to go out with? And I was like, well, they are all good friends, And so I think she fooled herself for a while, but probably actually a few days, until Friday night came, and I decided I was going to go out with my friends, and then she just asked again. She said, are you gay? And I said, yes, I'm gay, and I left.
Like maybe you'd change your mind. And
well, I think so. Like it was something that I was just fiddling around with or something. So.
Well, coming out at 16, it must have been difficult in high school, was it?
High school was.
I mean, I hate to say this, but Georgia or the South, is not necessarily considered to be the most progressive areas in the United States.
Well, Georgia itself, Savannah, Georgia, is in itself is a beautiful town, and there's a lot of culture there. Believe it or not, there's a few art schools, and there's a lot of diversity. But the gay population there and the gay community itself is just not known. There's clubs, but that's it. And as far as being a gay youth in the South, I didn't know anybody else that was my age as far as being gay. And when I came out in high school, I really don't know what motivated me to do it. I guess because I felt so good about who I was, and that I could identify with some other people. And so I just felt like telling everyone, and so I did, and I grew up with all these people all my life. I mean, these people had been there from about 6th grade, so it wasn't like I was telling strangers. I mean, they all knew me.
Well, what did they think? I mean, all of a sudden,
knowing somebody all your life doesn't make a difference. A lot of them were very just anti-gay. I heard a lot of slurs. I never came in any physical contact with anybody, but they were they said a lot of mean things, but then there were also your people who, and mostly girls, that took up for me and really were close friends, and all through high school. I mean, they just, if anybody said anything, they were there. So.
Well, I mean, in high school anyways, and I mean, just about anything that's odd, like if you have like large ears or a large nose, or,
anything, yeah.
It doesn't really matter, but they're going to like swoop on it. And
well, I've noticed, I mean, you couldn't be perfect. There's nothing you could be that anybody would accept in high school. Everybody didn't like something about somebody else, and it's like a gossip. We always called it gossip high because, I mean, that's just basically what high school's like, so. But, I don't know, my girlfriends, they were really good for me because they made me stronger as far as like in class discussions. If anything as far as like heterosexism came up, I would be the first person to say something, and they always backed me on it. And I mean, there were actually some guys that I thought I got through to that, you know, it wasn't so much they said anything, they just didn't say anything, which was probably the best thing for me. You know, there weren't any slurs coming out of their mouth, so.
Did you have any problems with teachers?
Actually, I knew 3 gay teachers at my high school, and as far as the rest of the teachers, those that knew were very supportive. I was also the first 10th grade editor of my school newspaper, and I was known for controversy as far as that goes too, with abortion to everything, and so I guess they knew me from that. I don't think too many of them knew I was gay, except for the gay teachers, and even to this day I have a lot of resentment towards the gay teachers because they never did anything. They just sat back and watched everything happen, and it wasn't like it didn't happen in their class, because it did, and they just didn't do anything about it.
What do you think they could have done?
They don't necessarily have to take up for me, but they can stop what's going on. You know, it doesn't matter if it's, you know, anybody who is being picked on or, you know, verbally abused. That should be stopped. You know, the teacher doesn't necessarily have to, you know, go into a speech about gay rights or, you know, racism or whatever it happens to be, but they do need to stop it. That's their job, and that's what they're there for.
Did they have, I mean, was the same effect, I mean, I'd imagine, like if like a black kid or something was being abused, would they stop the conversation? Oh
yeah, because in Savannah, and I've noticed in Springfield there's not as much of a racially diverse community as in Savannah. There's probably about, I'd say probably about half and half of, you know, black people and white people in my school, and that you just would not see racial slurs get by. I mean, that just did not happen. I mean, it was made very clear through every
So no
student.
racial slurs, but it was okay to sit there and badmouth gays or lesbians.
Yeah, and even in class, I mean, the teachers, you know, if I tried to make a comment, I remember in English one time, and it was Walt Whitman, we were talking about Walt Whitman, and I wanted to make the comment so bad that, you know, Walt Whitman was gay, because nobody knows, you know, nobody knows those things. It's just not, it just doesn't come up. And I mean, if you don't hear anything about gays, then, you know, you just think that the only gays are the ones that are, you know, in the clubs and, you know, marching on Washington, you know. I mean, it's just, there's just no awareness in the schools, so.
What happened when you said that he was gay?
I never actually did. I did speak up more in history because I knew the teacher very well, and she was really cool. She made it clear to me she didn't agree with my lifestyle, but she respected me as a person. And it was in sociology. She also taught sociology that I made a comment about gay people, you know, and took up for gay people. And most of the students really didn't say anything. Others just made a slur, and that was it. It was not anything. They never came back with anything, you know, positive or anything like to say, like to make a valid argument. So.
What was the difference between going to high school and going to college as far as being an out gay?
Well, and the college setting is so different because people in college want difference. I mean, they thrive on being different. I mean, you can see that at SMS, and basically any college campus is about individualism. So there's a lot of difference, and there's a lot for difference on colleges as far as groups and talking. And also I noticed in textbooks in college seem to deal with racial and gay issues rather than high school, where it's just not really even talked about. So there's a lot of awareness, and I think that awareness makes it easier to be gay or different on a college campus. So, especially in New York City, I mean, so.
Well, wasn't there something that they were trying to pass in New York for the smaller grades? I guess it was like grade school and junior high and high school, about the rainbow, I can't remember what it was called.
Well, I know in Georgia, I'm not sure about New York, but in Georgia they were trying to pass an amendment where they could not teach anything homosexuality, nothing could even be said.
It couldn't even be mentioned? You
could not even say the word. So, and that never passed, but it's just one of those outlandish things that are out there.
There's several things like that on the books in many different states right now. What I'm kind of wondering is that, okay, in Savannah, you said that was pretty progressive?
Yeah, maybe? It was. Savannah is, especially nationally now, with Forrest Gump and all the movies that are, taking place down in the South, Savannah's becoming more recognized as far as a national city, too. It's not just, a little southern city. I mean, a lot of people have heard of Savannah, Georgia now, but when I was growing up there, the downtown areas I guess it tended to be more progressive. There was a lot of just neat little things to do, which you can see with more cultural cities like small cafes, and things like that. But on the outskirts is where I lived, and it was pretty much just, I don't know, I hate to use the word redneck, but it was very just, it was pretty much just.
Well, there's in Georgia, there's a particular capital of interesting information, Marietta. In fact, I get probably some of the most interesting hate mail out of Marietta, Georgia. And they're getting better, actually. They're giving us like full color brochures now. It's pretty radical. Basically, this letter is signed "Forward to White Victory."
Well, that should say it all.
And I'm kind of wondering, how far is that? Is that really a radical fringe, or?
Well, Marietta is right outside of Atlanta, like about 5 miles outside of the city of Atlanta. And Atlanta is so diverse. You get everything. You get right wing, left wing, everything you want can be in Atlanta. It's just basically a small New York, in my opinion. But as far as the hate goes, I know that one of the largest groups of the KKK is located in Stone Mountain, which is also close to Atlanta. And I don't know, Savannah and Atlanta are completely different, and every part of Georgia is. I don't know, there's Albany, and in that area it's more West Georgia, and you really don't hear too much about it, but Savannah, there's not really many hate groups or anything like that I've heard of. And Atlanta is where you're going to find all that action and stuff like that going on. So
they have a tendency to cluster around the bigger cities?
It seems like it, yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
Well, maybe for the same reason that gays and lesbians flock to big cities, maybe.
For acceptance.
Yeah. Well, you can find more people.
Yeah.
When you're not in school, now that you're kind of like working and looking for a job, do you find much discrimination for being an out gay?
I've thought about it. I've thought, well, am I not getting a job because I'm gay, here? And I really haven't experienced too much in Springfield, and period, I guess, in my life, other than high school. But in Springfield, it seems to me that there's like a lot of stuff that people aren't aware of. There's a lot of stuff for the gay community that's just not broadcasted. You don't hear, unless you actually investigate, you can't find it. A lot of groups that people aren't aware of that, I had to look for, when I first came here. So.
You're talking about gay groups or lesbian groups? Or?
Yeah, So it's, I guess, as far as discrimination, no blatant discrimination yet. So, well, I was, when I first got here in Christmas, I noticed a guy walking in the mall with a t-shirt that said "No faggots," and it really offended me. And I've seen some, I guess, not so direct discrimination, but nothing really in my face. Nobody's really ever said anything like, you're gay and that's why, we're not going to hire you or whatever. So, and they could get away. The sad thing is they could get away with it. That is legal. So, but.
Well, if you were to run through the mall with a t-shirt that said "No hets," you'd probably get, you get a reaction then, but that's kind of confrontational.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I have my own life, and I try not to get, too involved, in people's, if they have an opinion, fine, they have an opinion, but if they bring it to me and push it in my face, then they can expect my opinion too. So, I mean, I try to respect other people's opinion, because I understand that, whether they've been brought up that way or whether that's just the way they believe, it's still their opinion, so.
That group of friends you had in high school, did you feel in any way that they coerced you into accepting a gay lifestyle?
Well, as far as that goes, most of them were girls, and I mean, we just had like a good time. My best friend, who is still my best friend, I mean, we used to go out and just check out the guys, on Saturdays. I mean, and as far as that, I mean, I did have one girl I was second in my class and she was first in my class, and she was really religious, and she didn't really talk about it, but when she did, she would bring up the Bible and stuff like that. So, but they were really accepting, and it's really amazing. But from the start, right from the beginning, they were always really accepting, and they just, I mean, it was like we were just like this big family. I would come to school, and we were all in the same classes, and we would just hang out the whole time. And I mean, I felt free to talk about everything that was going on in my life, as far as, the guy I was dating at that time or whatever. So they were just really supportive. They were great. And as far as, there wasn't too many guys, but the guys in my class were just not, they just never said anything to me after that point. After I came out, I didn't really talk to too many guys. So.
Was there any other gay guys in your classes that you knew about?
Well, there was one, but he just took the abuse. He never really said anything. He was in, I was a sophomore, and he was a junior at the time, and he just, I don't know, he really just, it was almost like nobody really knew him, but when he did come out, he just took what people said and just rolled with the punches, and I never have been like that, so we were just completely different. I felt like I was more of a positive thing, where he was just taking it like everybody expected him to, so, and I was sort of mad at him. I mean, we were in the same art class, and I just didn't understand why he just let people talk to him the way he did, so.
What do you think, you've been in Springfield for a little while, obviously you haven't been here for ages and ages, but as kind of an outsider and maybe an objective point of view, what are some things that you see need to be happening right now for gay youth, gay and lesbian youth, and what are some directions that you see?
Well, ideally, I think that it needs to be in the schools. I mean, that is just where it has to start, and it has to start.
Okay, what do you mean it needs to be in the schools?
Education in the books. The books need to be revised to let people know that great historians and writers were gay, and that is the most important thing, because awareness, makes people more, I guess, tolerant and accepting of people who are not like them. I think that's where it needs to start. And also, there needs to be some kind of rules set within the schools to not allow the bashing that goes on. I mean, if it's not okay for someone to, use racial slurs towards black people or Hispanic people, then it should not be right to call, gay people names. So that's the first thing, because if you teach respect, then that's going to stay with them all their life. And I think there needs to be some groups started here in Springfield that are not afraid to say, yes, we will let gay youth come into, these groups, because there is a fear among the older, crowd, as far as gays go, that if they even mess with the young crowd, they're going to get accused of, molesting them or whatever, and that's just, that is like putting them off in a corner and saying they don't exist, and just pretending that it's not. This is probably the most important stage in my life, and especially when I was younger, that I needed to learn about gay people. I needed to see role models, I needed to understand that I'm okay, because I never did until I met my friends, when I was 16, and it was hell. It literally was. Every day just getting up and thinking, I'm gay, and then pushing it off and saying, no, I'm not gay, you know, and then just getting through the day with that in my mind, you know. Or if I dreamt about a girl, then I would go to school in my car and I would think, oh, I dreamt about so-and-so and I must not be gay, you know. So it's like there was nothing for me, and in Springfield I see the same thing as in Savannah. It's just not fair. I mean, it's pretending that we're not here, and it's not only that we're gay. When you don't see anything like that, it causes a lot of other problems, you know, psychological problems, you know, because you're so closeted, and when you finally come out, it feels so good, but at the same time you've got, you know, all this just frustration, you know, from feeling so different and just so, I guess, dirty, you know, from being gay. So
did you ever have any experience with counselors? I mean,
counselors, my counselors knew, and even when I had problems with other students, I would go to them, and basically their answer was, well, maybe you should go to a college for your last year of high school. So they were not really offering any solutions as far as the high school goes, but saying get out of the high school setting. And that's fine, you know, for me, but what about all the other kids, you know, in the school? So
well, could any student do that? Say a student only had maybe a C average.
No, they couldn't.
They couldn't do that.
They couldn't do it. And I even called the superintendent of Savannah, Chatham County, and he basically said the same thing. There was nothing that they could do, nothing. And I mean, you just sort of feel hopeless. Like, what am I going to do? Because, I mean, I was, like I said, I was second in my class, and my grades were so important to me. But after I came out, it was like so stressful, even just to get up and go to school. You know, I'd drive my car, park it in the parking lot every day early just to avoid confrontation from people in the parking lot, and walking to the, you know, to my car, walking from class to class, going to my locker. I mean, it just seemed like.
So it was kind of a relief and a heaviness all at the same time.
Yeah, that's how I explain it to my friends. It's like you feel so good, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're put, you know, into a situation where there's other stuff that you have to deal with. And to be honest, I don't know which one was worse, being in the closet or being out in high school. So I would not ever tell anybody don't come out, but just be aware that you're going to have a lot to deal with. So.
Well, I guess this would be as good a time any to like spring this wonderful surprise that we have going on. As part of this Gay Life, one thing that we would like to do is have like one show per month dedicated to gay youth. And of course we have this wonderful volunteer right here, Charles Bacot, who is going to be trying to coordinate that and get people together and other, you know, to talk about issues that are concerning gay youth, because obviously there's a lot more involved that older gays and lesbians really don't know about, and we're really not experiencing.
Yeah, and I think also other gay people, you know, when they're young, they want to talk to, you know, younger people who have been through it or going through it.
Or closer to their age.
Exactly. So I think it would definitely help out the youth of Springfield and hopefully surrounding areas.
So two things going on. I mean, we'd like to have your input, and if you are a gay youth or a young lesbian, please contact us because we need your input on the show. We're going to go ahead and use the regular show number, and I'll put you in touch. And it'd be really nice if we could get some people together and we'll just have a large meeting and talk about it and get some, like an open forum to talk about what's going on in Springfield. We have Chris's story. He's from Savannah, Georgia, and it may be similar, but it may not be as similar, but we want to know, and we'd like to be able to help and address issues that are important to the young gay and lesbians here in Springfield and in the area. Because I'm not even sure exactly. I remember when I was coming out, but the problem is that was years ago, and things have changed. Politics have changed. TV has changed. Media has changed. Anyone who would like to contact, that wasn't the number. The number will be showing actually at the end of the show if you'd like some information about contacting us about the youth show.
And I think the most important thing to remember is do not feel like there's nothing you can do. And there's always something that can be done. And I mean, I will back you because I wish I'd have taken more initiative when I was in high school. So, you know, if you feel like you're trapped, you know, you feel like there's, you know, you just can't get up and go to school anymore or whatever, you know, believe me, I have felt the same way, and I'm sure there's other people who have too. So just...
Well, I've heard a lot of stories, coming out stories that people have told me from the area high schools that have said, you know, some of the same things. In fact, some of the friends my age have gone through their yearbooks and they'll point out, well, he, she, you know, and pointing out who's gay and, you know, and who they knew. And it's kind of funny because a lot of them have the same feeling, you know, running around the high schools as like one lonely person. And, you know, wouldn't it have been nice to be able to like go into a counselor and say, gosh, what do I do? And they say, here's this group. And, you know, they meet on a weekly basis. In this
ideal world that we're living in.
Wouldn't that be great, though? I mean, and one of the ways that we'd like to head that direction is being able to address the youth issues, but only we want the youth to be able to tell us what's going on.
Exactly.
What are some other things that happen to you that people might be able to connect with in high school?
Well, you know, you get the slurs, of course. I mean, it doesn't matter what you are, if you're fat, you know, whatever, you're going to get something. It doesn't matter. Do you think
the slurs were probably the main thing, I mean, that happened?
Well, it's not. It's the slurs and also actual education. When you just don't see anything, you know these people are gay, but everybody sitting around you doesn't know. You know, and it's just like you want them to know because it would make it so much easier if they knew the people they're learning about was gay and that they're perfectly normal people. I mean, they live perfectly normal lives. It's not like we have some weird, ritual we do when we go home. I mean, we're the same people.
Go home and study, try and get something to eat.
Do our little dance. I mean, so, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like I was lucky that I had the friends that I did, but, the worst part about it was just feeling so helpless. And
feeling alone.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we need to close now, but I want to go ahead and suggest that anybody who has some ideas about the gay youth show, actually gay and lesbian youth show, I don't want to leave anybody out, or bisexual, please contact us, and the number will be running at the end of the show. And let us know what you feel, and we would like to get a meeting together in the next couple of weeks, so like maybe by the end of March or in the beginning of April. Please contact us and let us know. I'd like to thank my guests for being here, Charles, and for telling us your story, because
I'm glad to be here.
I hope some people can connect with that and maybe get the courage up. Thanks again for joining us on This Gay Life.